We are back, season 2.
Kicking off season 2.
Bigger and better. Since we started the podcast, we've reached over 5 million people.
5 million
Over
views.
5 million views. We're welcoming back the Minister of Education, Siviwe, Gwarube. And we also have David Maynier, who is the MEC of Education in the Western Cape. Welcome, David. The class of 2025, the highest matric pass rate ever, 88%.
I think teaching is a vocation, man. Being able to mold somebody's life and somebody's perspective and to teach is such an incredible job. And I just want to say to the teachers in South Africa, thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for building our country's future. We are not in the business of cutting ribbons. We're in the business of building futures.
The DA Podcast.
The DA Podcast.
We are here, guys. Welcome to 2026.
2026.
2026.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
fixing it. We're fixing all of it. Yeah.
We made it back to season 2.
Yes.
And Nasli, by the way, since we started the podcast, we've reached over 5 million people.
5 million
Over
views.
5 million views.
Incredible.
Over
That's
5
crazy.
million views. So we are back, season 2, bigger and better.
Yep.
That's what we're doing. But we
what we're doing.
also have some incredible guests with us here.
Yay, kicking off
today.
season 2.
Yeah, kicking off season 2.
Love it.
We're welcoming back the Minister of Education, Siviwe Gwarube. Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's always so good when guests come back for a second time.
Yeah.
And we're so happy to have you back. So welcome back to the podcast studio.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yay.
And we also have David Maynier, who is the MEC of Education in the Western Cape. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Please don't be terrified by this big table. I promise you, we are very, very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
very chill.
You're feeling nice today.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
new
yeah.
year. We have
It's
to
a
be
new
nice.
year.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a new year. We have a big year ahead of us. We have the local government elections coming up. And that's why I started with 2020 Fix, because we have a lot to fix. We have a lot to fix in the system. We have a lot to fix in cities, in municipalities. And this is a good year to do it.
And also, I mean, Siviwe, you've been all over. I mean, we've been seeing you on TV like almost every day now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been quite a busy couple of days for you. Hey.
Yeah. No, it has. It has. And also, and David can attest to this. You don't really get a December break. I've now learnt, so I will be sure to book my vacation not in December, during some other time.
Kind of a break, but with one eye open.
Exactly. So you're kind of like you don't sleep because remember. We write the exams and then the marking begins and ends at about the 15th of December. And also that's that's also a risky period because that's actually when either you can identify a breach in the system, a leak, or, and also we have over 50,000 markers across 6,000 marking centers. So it's still a big operation. So people think that it only ends with the writing of the exams, but then you have to take all the scripts, get them to the 6,000 marking centers, 50,000 people doing the marking. And then, of course, this year, we were able to identify through the marking that there was, in fact, a leak and there was some cheating. And so that, we then had to communicate on that and be very upfront and transparent. I think it was on the 2nd of December. So again, even that process was very, very intense. In fact, on the 31st of December, while people were getting their beverages ready and cold, I was in a meeting getting briefed about by the investigating team on that breach. So as David would know, you kind of you rest, but not really.
And I don't think the size and the scale of the matric exam is quite sort of appreciated.
Absolutely.
I think it's probably at least as large and at least as complex, for example, as a general provincial election. It really is a massive, complex operation, which by and large is very well executed by the provinces. But of course, we're a little bit like the retail sector. Our peak sort of business is during December, and so we do have a very short break, but as Siviwe said, it's with one eye open.
So basically, your holidays will come like July, August.
Also, I love how people always say to me, "Oh, you must be resting because all the kids are on holiday." I'm like, no. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I don't go on leave when there are school holidays. Please, people, I want to clarify that. I don't go on leave. David does not go on leave when the kids are on holiday. I sometimes don't even know they're on holiday because my life just goes on.
Because the work happens even when they're not at school. The work continues to happen. Now, Siviwe, you touched on the leak, and maybe let's just get into it a little bit. I must say, I was very. The happy is not the right word, but it was very good to see that you came out immediately and you spoke about it. You didn't try to hide anything or wax lyrical over what happened. You came out straight and you said, this is what happened. Can you take us why you did that?
Yeah. Look, I think it's important, and I think that David and I share this very much. I think for the public to have confidence. So a system, firstly, let me take a step back. A system's strength is not whether or not it will have chinks or it will have challenges or it will have leaks or breaches, right? That's not how a system's strength is in my view, tested. The strength of a system is whether when there are problems, you are able to react quickly and you are able to contain the problem. And so that's how I view it, because the system has human beings involved, and human beings are susceptible to doing wrong things. As we saw, this was a mother who worked at DBE who sourced these papers for her child. So ultimately, anything that has human beings in it is also susceptible to issues and to problems. So for me, it was about how do we react as quickly as possible. So we ascertained that the leak was in fact contained in the Tshwane area. And then we in our initial investigation, realized there were 26 children that were involved. And then we wanted an independent investigator because we didn't want to investigate ourselves because the leak came from DBE. It came from our own offices. So we got an independent team that investigated it. Some really, accomplished human beings who were part of that. And so that was why it was important. And to be honest with South Africans, and even when you're giving an analysis of the results, I think it's so important that we mustn't, try and fool people into a safe, a place of I don't know, like a lull of some sort. So even when you're releasing the results, you say these are the crisis points. This is where we're doing well. So, and I think people can appreciate open, honest, and transparency.
I agree. And David, we haven't seen too much of open and honest transparency with the previous government. So it's kind of refreshing now, right?
I think what the public require, what the public demand, I think is sort of, and expect, quite rightly, is sort of immediate and decisive action when there are, for example, challenges or irregularities. And that's exactly what we got. We had immediate, decisive action, and we were transparent about exactly what had taken place. And thankfully, of course, the breach was localized and didn't compromise the Matric exam as a whole. So I think it was very well done.
But also, I think, David, the other thing we have to think about as people in the sector is how our systems as government respond to technology and the changing technology, right? Because can you imagine a situation where people are using technology to basically, WhatsApp and the like, to basically spread this kind of information. I think as government as well, we have to think about how is AI used, how is, all of these things. We have to be kind of a step ahead.
Technology is evolving. We have to evolve, anticipate, and actually evolve faster than the technology. But I think the other thing that we've been very clear about is is that we regularly review our systems, regularly review our procedures to look at how we can strengthen our systems and maintain the integrity of the matric examination.
Yeah, so I was listening to you, Siviwe, as well on SABC, and you were saying something really incredible about this particular class of this year, which is the class of COVID.
Yes.
And I thought that was so interesting because for some of us, COVID is such a long time ago, but these young kids have actually traversed that particular challenge and made it to this point. And firstly, I just want to say congratulations to each and every one of them.
Yeah.
But when I listened to your interview and you mentioned that, I was just like, this is insane because they really went through a lot.
So David will tell about how they were doing. How they used to handle social distancing during COVID. But the interesting thing about the class of 2025, number one, is that they were in grade 8 in 2021. And so at that time, we were still reeling. We were still in the middle of COVID. So imagine starting high school in that way.
Sure.
Irregular, massive learning lost, massive, sort of change that, and I mean, COVID was a game changer for all of us.
Absolutely.
But can you imagine entering high school as a grade 8 pupil and having to deal with, all those massive learning losses? So they dealt with that. Even provinces like KwaZulu-Natal, you remember the floods, the riots in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes.
So these are also learners who survived that, and yet they managed to come through and really perform, the best that they ever had. And I just do want to say congratulations to each and every one of them. I often have people, learners, DMing me on Instagram, being like, "I'm so stressed about that paper." And I'm like, I don't even get to see the papers, my friend. I don't even know. Good luck, though.
I can't imagine that.
There's this perception that for some reason we're very carefully scrutinizing the exams and applying to that. Of course, we don't have that information.
No, they'd be like, "I was so stressed. That paper was so difficult, Minister." And I'm like, I'm sorry.
What about question 5? What were you thinking?
Exactly.
But David, I just wanted to also, just before we move on this, but can you just take us through what these young people went through in this particular time, just to get a full picture, because I don't think we'd really grasp how amazing they've done
And resilient.
under these
They have been.
circumstances.
Well, I mean, if you think of the kids at school during COVID, I mean, they would have had rotational timetables. They would have been attending school. They would not have been attending school for part of the COVID period. To the extent that they did attend school, they might have been doing it rotationally. In other words, attending school perhaps 3 times a week. And then, crucially, they, of course, would not have been writing examinations. There would have been school-based assessments. So that generation also, to some extent, lost, if you like, exam writing muscle, which then also had to be restored once schools opened. So there have been huge learning losses as a result of COVID. And the truth of it is, those learning losses are still pulling through the system. We haven't fully recovered. I hope that we'll recover within the next 1 or 2 years. But COVID was devastating for education, not just in our country, but frankly, all over the world.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, Leolo, these learners did the most. They did the most. The resilience of young people in this country can never be doubted. But before we continue, what is the difference between your job, Siviwe, as the Minister of Basic Education, and provinces, so your job as the MEC of Education? Because oftentimes, for me, it's like education is given by the national government, and the minister has to answer for everything, and then not necessarily holding the provinces accountable. So can you just break it down in the most simplest terms? What's the difference?
And we got them here.
Exactly. So I'll talk about what I do. So the Constitution is quite clear. Education and health are concurrent powers. So what does that mean? That means that national government has some power in terms of policy making, legislative direction, and the like. but the actual power to implement sits with the provinces. So that is the case with health and education. So Minister Motsoaledi would set the policy framework, will set the standards, and then the provinces have the actual provincial powers to build hospitals, to do what they need to do. So similarly with David, so on my side, we set policy, we do a number of things. We set policy with the legislative framework. Norms and standards are set there. Obviously we also manage what we call conditional grants. So Treasury would give DBE a chunk of the money, our basic education department, a chunk of money that is intended solely for the purposes of what it is intended. So the school nutrition, for instance, is just for school nutrition. The infrastructure grant is just for infrastructure. But we don't hang on to that money. We send it to the implementers. The implementers are the provinces. So sometimes people then make the mistake to think that provinces actually have a lot of power. And David will talk to it now. They have a lot of power because they actually are the ones who build schools, who do the actual implementing of teaching children. So that's why people often say, why don't you go and intervene in that school? I have to first pick up the phone and speak to the MEC and say what seems to be the problem before because I don't actually own any schools. Similarly to how Minister Motsoaledi doesn't own a single hospital. So, yeah, but maybe you can talk.
Look, I think you describe it very well. Broadly, national government in Siviwe would set policy, and then provinces are responsible for actually implementing and delivering on that policy. At the end of the day, I mean, provinces employ teachers, provinces build schools. And most importantly, the bulk of the education budget, in fact, sits with provinces and is under control of provinces. I mean, I think the point about concurrent powers is, from a province's perspective, how do you maximize your power under the Constitution? And what scope is there, for example, to differentially implement reform? So I'll give you a very good example. I mean, in the previous administration, the Western Cape took advantage of the fact that there are concurrent powers, that provinces have, as Siviwe have said, quite considerable powers. And what we did was we, for example, have a big focus on foundation phase literacy, which I'm sure we'll discuss. I mean, what we did was we used our concurrent powers to allocate an additional 2 hours of reading per week in the foundation phase and an additional 1 hour of mathematics in the foundation phase, which we think has gone a long way to improving literacy and numeracy in the foundation phase. So it's quite a complex constitutional setup, but broadly the national minister in Siviwe's case sets policy and provinces implement that policy. And I don't think, as we've said, that is often very well understood by the public, and then obviously jams up Siviwe, because she's essentially held responsible and accountable by the public for functions of provinces.
So then what we then also do, we have what we call the Council of Education Ministers. So it's a group of us. So it's the 9 MECs. Then I chair it with the deputy minister, and then the 9 MECs are accompanied by the HODs, and then we are obviously accompanied by the DG. So that grouping is again also founded in law, and in other departments they call it a MINMEC, but we call it the CEM. So that's when then we then go to provinces and say, all right, so on these metrics, how are you performing? What about you? Why is your infrastructure spend so low when we know that there are issues with infrastructure in your province? Again, it's remember, I don't appoint the MECs. The premiers appoint the MECs. So even in that context, I'm holding you accountable as colleague to colleague, not as your boss. And so again, you see that it's slightly complex because yes, of course, I've got the powers to say, look, you're doing poorly here. Why are you underspending? Why is this happening? And you can ask those questions. And David can attest that I try to very much use CM as a way of holding provinces to account when things are not going well. But at the same time, like as I say, they then go and implement. And then, of course, I mean, there's the scope to say, look, MEC so-and-so, why is this happening? Why are we seeing a massive drop of learners between grade 10 and 12? What's happening there? Are people being held back? So those things, there's data that we present to the MECs, but also we will also demand answers from them for what some of the things that are happening in their provinces.
No, it's really good to know that there is some sort of oversight mechanism happening, because we can't just let politicians run and do whatever they want, especially when we're dealing with such an important sector like education and children's lives and their futures. So it's really good to understand your differences and how you also collaborate and work together, because it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Definitely. And I mean, Nasli, on the night of the announcement, I think all three of you were, of course, Siviwe, you were in attendance, but I think all three of you were in attendance, and most of us, I think together with South Africans, were stuck on our TV screens watching this particular announcement. And I just wanted us to really just look at some of the numbers that we saw from that announcement. 88% pass rate,
the highest
that it has ever been, which is truly such an incredible feat. Also, looking at some of the other figures, 57% obtained for bachelor passes. I want us to also look at that 13% with senior certificates. We also had a very interesting stats, Siviwe, about over 60% of bachelor passes coming from rural areas specifically, and I think these are such interesting numbers to look at. And David, obviously, you also to come in here to just break down some of these figures. But Siviwe, what do these mean when we break them down?
Yeah, so one of the, as I indicated, I think earlier, is that one of the things that I always want to do with these speeches is, one, to be open with South Africans about what do the numbers mean, where are we doing well, where we need to pay more attention, because it's important that we don't, and when I used to say to people, I obsess less about the global matric pass rate. I'm obsessing about the quality markers. I think people thought that I was saying that because I wanted a cop out in case that the matric results don't increase. And so I'm glad they've increased, and I'm still consistent that, and as much as I'm incredibly proud of the class of 2025, absolutely, I'm in what a feat. And there's some really good things, some nuggets there. 66% of bachelor passes came from quintiles 1 to 3 schools.
Wow.
That's no fee schools, right?
Those are no fee schools. These are poor. These are schools in poor communities, and they are producing results. And you know what that says to me, and that what really, really motivates me. It says that talent does not reside in a particular place. 100%. You could be coming from Kwakwa, you could be coming from Dutya. It doesn't matter. That if you put in the work, you can actually be one of the top achievers that we acknowledge there. Also, I was very excited about the fact that we had an increase in learners living with disabilities participating in the NSC exams, but also achieving more bachelor passes. So that also speaks to inclusion. And then I think also the other really, I think, great nugget for me is the fact that we're starting to see the system being far more stable. And there's always a misconception that we lose learners between grade 1 and 12. And the reality is that when we analyze grade 1 to 10, we only lose about 4% of learners. So the system is stable enough. The problem becomes only between grade 10 and 12. And that's where I've asked the team that we need to go and investigate where are learners going, what are the contributing factors. So very, very exciting statistics, I think. And of course, David, we had Abigail, who was wiping the floor there with everyone, because I kept on, every every time she would come, I was like, you're the same person. And I'm just like, oh, yeah.
Yes, I think three awards she got back to back.
I mean,
it was incredible. But Siviwe, also 900,000.
Yeah.
Matric set for this exam.
Like David was saying, 900,000 people is a massive undertaking.
Sure.
And we got the most amount of bachelor passes in history. In numeric terms, we increased by over 8,000 bachelor passes.
Incredible.
So again, what I'm trying to say to people is that in as much as, I congratulate the class and I'm happy about the 88%, but we have to dig deep and say, where are the quality markers? Bachelor passes, that's important. Maths and science, that's important. Accounting, that's important. And all of these things become absolutely important. I even said when I went to the Northwest for back to school, I visited a high school, a primary school, and an ECD center. I said to the practitioners at the ECD center, matric marks starts here. They don't start in grade 12. They start right at the foundation. So what David was saying about adding additional reading time, additional maths time, that's where you start building your matric marks. And that's what I want South Africans to understand, that we must build from the bottom up and then not be obsessed with interventions, trying to fix the system right at the end, frantically making children stressed. No. If they are confident enough to read for meaning, count confidently, I promise you, they're going to soar. And you're never going to need to intervene to get particular marks.
David, the class of 2025, the highest matric pass rate ever, 88%.
Yeah.
Wow.
I celebrated our matric results at a high school called Silikamba High School. It's a quintile 3, no-fee school serving principally learners who come from IY in Hout Bay. This is a school that got 100% pass rate. It got a 76% bachelor's pass rate and delivered 75 distinctions.
That's
my God.
Congratulations!
Silikamba, we see you.
And what you saw at that school was at least three things. Great leadership in the form of the principal, a school culture focused on delivering excellence and being absolutely relentless about excellence and hard work. And then finally, there's a lot of collaboration at that school with a school operating partner and other NGOs and private sector organizations which have got in behind and supported the school. And I think that symbolizes Silikamba High School symbolizes a lot about what is going right in education in our province. And that's why, we're very proud of the fact that we got the highest matric pass rate ever at 88.2%, highest bachelor's pass rate ever at 49.2%, and then most importantly, the highest maths pass rate, second highest physical science pass rate. And we did all of that. And I think this is important, with the highest retention rate in the country. So we are very proud of the matric class of 2025 here in the Western Cape.
David, can you just tell us a little bit about what retention rate means?
Well, I think that this is probably an indicator that we are not paying sufficient attention to, and that we probably need to look at a little bit more carefully. But essentially, it's the proportion of learners who pass matric that were also in grade 10. So it's a measure of the throughput rate between grade 10 and grade 12. And we are very proud of the fact that we make a very conscious policy decision to maximize our retention rate, to ensure that as many of our learners pass matric in order to then go on to higher education institutions. And I'm quite concerned that some provinces, and I know that Siviwe shares this concern, have significantly lower retention rates. If the Western Cape, I did a sort of back of the envelope calculation. If the Western Cape had a retention rate of about 55%, which is slightly higher than the lowest province, there would have been 12,000 fewer matriculants in this province. So I think retention rate is something that we need to pay very close attention to, and I know that Siviwe has been looking into this quite carefully.
No, absolutely. Retention rate. So as I said, so the big, obviously global figure, but you must delve deep into the numbers. Sure. And I spent 2 days with the team giving me a technical briefing because I need to understand all the quality markers, and the retention rate is one of them. It's one of the very important quality indicators. As I indicated, our problem does not reside between grade 1 and 10. Our problem starts in grade 10. And I'll tell you what are some of the driving factors. Number one, it's repetition. So learners who fail and they become too old for the grade, and then they decide to drop out. Okay. Sometimes learners then do leave and go to TVET colleges, community colleges. But what the Minister Manamela and I are doing is to try and see how best we can track learners using their ID numbers so that we can know where they go. But also a worrying trend we are seeing, because the pregnancy regulations have really assisted. Girls who fall pregnant are likely to come back to school, but boys, for some reason, are more susceptible to dropping out. And that for me concerns me, because we can't, in correcting the one phenomenon of girl participation, girls in STEM, girl education, then be leaving behind a whole cohort of boys. So that retention rate between grade 10 and 12 becomes important. The other concern that I have, and I want to really delve deep into this, is the change in subjects. So again, learners perform well, they're taking maths all the way to grade 10. Then all of a sudden, in some instances, you will see that a learner who was doing core maths starts to take on maths literacy. They drop science and they take on a different subject. That says to me that we are not supporting learners enough to be confident enough to take it all the way to matric. That also suggests to me that there may be people who are encouraging learners to say, don't take this subject. And that's not the way to go. A teacher should not be discouraging a learner from taking a subject. They should be saying, we will support you to be able to be successful when you get to grade 12. So those are some of the things that I really want to delve deep into, because if people are discouraging learners from taking on STEM subjects, we've got to stop that. Yep. And we've also got to see how we as a department at a national level can support provinces in making sure that we get our maths and science numbers up.
Yeah, Siviwe and David, talking about looking into the facts and not just looking at one pass rate as the indicator for success. We've had the populist opinion really being pushed hard incorrectly that you pass with a 30% pass mark. Can we once and for all set the record straight on that, please, Siviwe?
Yeah. Look, I mean, it is quite unfortunate, because I think it also delegitimizes the work that a lot of our learners put into their schooling. There's no learner in South Africa who gets an average of 30% who pass matric. And also the other thing that people must also realize is that also university entry is so high that in order for you to be eligible to go into university, you have to pass pretty convincingly. So the 30% issue that is often bandied around is simply this. There are learners there are particular subjects that we say this is the minimum threshold that you can obtain, whether it is 40% in particular subjects or 30%. And now the reason why that is because there should be no learner left behind. If you've got an Abigail here who got a 98% maths pass mark on the one side, and she wants to go and do actuarial science at Stellenbosch University, as she said, one, the schooling system should be able to cater that for her. But if you've got another learner who's not like Abigail, you need to be able to say that learner can take a different path, can go to a TVET, can go and obtain a skill, because ultimately no learner should be left behind. And our schooling system and our assessment and progression requirements should be able to cater for all learners. It's not to say to South Africans, and again, I just want to come back to this point, because soon we're going to be releasing a report that has been put together by experts. And I've long said to some of our politicians that we can't allow politicians to make decisions that experts should be making. We have to be evidence-led. And so there are many education specialists who form part of the National Education Training Council. They've looked at our progression requirements, and they're going to be releasing a report independent of me. Because again, I'm not an education specialist. Independent of and they will release it to the country to say, we've looked at this, we've looked at what other countries are doing, this is what we would recommend. So I look forward to that report coming out soon. But I do want to assure South Africans that there's no child who leaves a matric with a 30%. And there's this notion that somehow universities now have to lower their standards. It's not true. David will tell you that, in order to get into medicine, even in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, for instance, you have to pass hefty marks in maths and science. So it's a populist crisis call that I think we should stop, because we have to be a lot more nuanced when we look at this.
For sure.
David, just your thoughts on how learners are being supported in the Western Cape as well on this issue.
Well, I mean, we put an enormous focus on supporting not just learners, but also teachers, and not just in the higher grades, but also in the foundation phase and in the primary schools. I mean, we 2 years ago launched a program which we called the Back on Track program, and the Back on Track program is currently configured to support both learners and teachers. We're focusing currently on about 15,000 grade 4 and grade 7s, and supporting them in order to, in maths and languages. And we focused on about 1,335, I think, also primary school teachers in what we call the 1+9 program. And those teachers essentially come out of the classroom every 10 days and receive very intensive additional support and development in order to improve their ability to teach. And I think what we found after doing some independent evaluation in collaboration with the University of Stellenbosch, we've demonstrated that this program works and that it works fairly rapidly. So we have shown, for example, in our grade 7 mathematics, that we are able to almost claw back a year of learning losses in just 10 additional classes for our learners. So we've done an enormous amount to support learners and teachers, particularly in our primary schools. And one of our big aims this year is to reconfigure and expand that program and heavily invest in improving mathematics and physical science pass rates, but also more importantly participation rates in particularly quintile 1 to 3 schools here in the Western Cape.
I really want to jump onto this point about the Back on Track program that David is talking about why foundation phase is important.
Yes.
This is really, really important, and I want South Africans to understand why this is important. In South Africa, historically, we've always focused on access, which is rightly so, because of course, after apartheid, we needed to make sure that we had access to education for all, right? And the pyramid was the pyramid. So the pinnacle was you get to matric. And my view has been to invert the pyramid and to say, let's start from the foundations and then let the matric pass rate be the final indicator of how well you've done. Because the matric pass rate is an exit indicator. But the most important indicator is the one that you will get in the foundations of learning. So that's why I obsess about early child development, making sure that we've now incorporated into the Department of Basic Education. So now creches are no longer just places for children to eat and sleep, but there are places where there's structured play. There is a certain level of a curriculum that must be done, because we want to make sure that children are cognitively developed enough by the time they start school that they get there. Last year we released what we call the Thrive by 5 index. The reason why we do that index.
What is that?
So it's a study basically that looks at a sample of children around South Africa that looks to see of all the cognitive requirements of a 5-year-old, are they meeting them?
Okay.
Because what David is talking about, it starts there. It starts from
Absolutely
2-year-olds, whether or not are they being read to, are they getting a nutritious meal? Because we want to make sure that stunting and malnutrition is avoided. Are they getting the structured play? By the time they turn 5, they should be cognitively developed enough to get to grade R the next year. And for me, if I could really plead with South Africans to say, let's obsess about the readiness of grade R learners as much as we obsess about our matrics, because that's where we get it right or we get it wrong. That's where inequality either takes root or is dismantled. If we level the playing field there, I can guarantee you we're not going to worry about our children confident enough to take maths and science, because by the time they get to grade 1, 2, 3, they're able to read confidently. We've got this statistic about children who can't read for meaning in South Africa. We can change that only if we invest heavily. So it's music to my ears when he talks about grade 7s that are being supported, about primary schools that are being supported, because that's where you build that's where you build the economy.
And Siv, we were with you on the ground in Soweto where you met with ECD practitioners, and just to watch that engagement. I think Nasli, you were also there. You just going in between all the ECD practitioners there and really just listening to the issues that they have, because it really is true to say the inverse is how we should be looking at education. I mean, those practitioners, and you made a promise that day, and you did actually fulfill it.
Yes.
Nasli?
Yes.
It was fulfilled.
It was absolutely
it was in your
fulfilled.
constituency.
It was in
so really,
Soweto.
this is something that you're really passionate about.
We absolutely have to get the foundations right. And what we see is if we don't get the foundations of literacy and numeracy right in the foundation phase and in the primary schools, the problem then compounds. I mean, we last year conducted a sample, a common exam in a sample of primary schools in grade 7. And what we found was that learners struggled with particular questions. And I asked the department, well, why is this? And what emerged is the questions that the learners struggled with most were what we would commonly call word sums. So the learners were struggling with mathematics in grade 7 because the underlying literacy, they were struggling, frankly, to read the question. So that underlying sort of literacy and numeracy in the foundation phase, that scaffolding was not in place. And I'm absolutely determined in our province to make a much bigger investment and a big push in foundation phase literacy and numeracy. And the important thing is we know that it can be done. I mean, our team has recently returned from Brazil, which is a country with very similar levels of poverty and inequality, so in some cases more extreme. And they have some of the best foundational phase literacy programs in the world. And they have demonstrated that you can very significantly improve literacy and numeracy in the foundation phase, despite the levels of poverty and inequality. We've learned a lot from them, and we are going to be implementing a sort of a new approach to foundation phase numeracy and literacy in our province, which will be mediated this term, and it's going to be rolled out over the next 3 years. And if we can get those, as I say, the foundation phase literacy and numeracy right, it would be a huge investment in better results in the later grades.
Absolutely, and I'm absolutely unapologetic about that strategy, because any country around the world that's got a strong education system will tell you that we focus on the foundations of learning. So yes, it may not yield immediate results, but as I often remind my team, we are not in the business of cutting ribbons. We're in the business of building futures, and that takes 10, 12 years.
Right.
And so so we have to also be okay with the fact that the seeds we plant today, we may not necessarily see them bloom, but they will bloom. They will years coming from now. So I am excited about the kind of work we're doing in the foundations of learning.
Talking about the foundations of learning, so Siviwe did keep to her promise to come to Soweto, and it was around the Bana Pele mass registration drive of ECDs. And if I'm not mistaken, you have hit your target out of the window.
Yeah, absolutely. So why is it important to register ECD centers, right? And this is just, I think, for the people at home and those who maybe are running ECD centers. The reason why it's important is because over the next 3 years, we've been allocated 10 billion rand to expand the early child development and care and education and care program in South Africa. And so it's important that people register their ECD centers so that we can be able to give them that support. Remember, government has increased the child subsidy from 17 rand a day to 24 rand a day. So now you are able to access that so that a child has food, you've got structured play, you've got the material that you need for practitioners to do this cognitive work that we're talking about. So it's very important that we get registered. So we had a target of 10,000. We've hit the target. We've surpassed it. We've registered over 12,000. But we have a massive, ambitious target of literally knocking it out the park in the next year. So, because for me, it's so important that we have ECDs registered. And there was also a misconception that people didn't want to register their ECDs because they thought we wanted to shut them down.
Correct,
No, we want to partner with ECD practitioners. We want to support them. We want to make sure that they're upgraded, but we also want to make sure that these places are safe, that the children are not just in a back room somewhere, that it's a structured place. It's got, emergency exits. Because remember, you're looking after children here. So, and also we want to make sure that the practitioners are all checked against the child protection register, the sexual offenders register. Those things are important. So it's not about shutting you down. It's about supporting you to comply. So when you register, we also help you to comply to get to a gold status.
Gotcha.
So we're not shutting people down. We're saying we want to partner with you so that you can be recognized and you can be supported.
So basically, please register.
Yes. If you know a mama who's running a creche in the community, ask her if she's been registered and tell her the minister said register so you can be supported.
Well, the other interesting thing that I also wanted to put on the table for both of you is around the pit latrines. And I think, Siviwe, there's also a very interesting stat of 98% identified pit latrines. Your department is able to deal with that. And I'm also interested to hear from you as well, David, what is the status of the Western Cape? But I think that is an incredible statistic. I mean, we all remember the story of Michael Gomape, who fell into a pit latrine. And so where are we with this particular project and what's happening?
So in 2018, the president launched what we call the SAFE project, which was basically to do an audit of all pit toilets around the country. They came up with a number of about 3,900 of pit latrines that were in the country. So the statistic we keep talking about, we're talking about that statistic. So how far are we with eradicating those pit toilets? So I'm quite proud of Limpopo. They are almost done. I think they are at the tail end of their numbers. The very stubborn numbers that we're trying to get down are still in KwaZulu-Natal and in the Eastern Cape in particular. And it is really, for me, a blemish in the education system, because no child should go to school to go and die. We should be able to have appropriate sanitation, working sanitation for our learners. But I'm also acutely aware that this is also a financial issue, right? And that, infrastructure budgets. I mean, if we had the Rolls Royce of infrastructure around the country, we'd need about 140 billion rand for the provinces. So that's the backlog that we are working with. So I'm acutely aware that sometimes it's also been contractors who are working offsite, but I'm really determined to get that safe backlog completely eradicated in the next coming months. But I say this with a but. It's very important that we that infrastructure is a consistently moving target. So you can't say that what was done in 2018, we are now done. There are no more pit toilets in South Africa. No. We have to find a way to consistently do audits, to check, are schools safe places? So that is my intention. As soon as we are done with the SAFE project, I want to partner with the private sector, with any organization that can say, we will help you do audits, verified audits in provinces. Vodacom had come on board, had done an app for us to say people can be able to log these things, because infrastructure is a forever moving target. You can eradicate a pit toilet, but perhaps one then breaks down and then the school creates another one. So it's very important that we continuously look at this. So for me, you'll never get to a point where you're saying you are 100% done, because things change, and I want provinces to be a lot more aware of what's happening in their provinces, because sometimes I think that there isn't enough data coming from the provinces. So David, I mean, I don't know. I know that you have a slightly different problem.
This is an easy one.
Okay.
We have no pit latrines.
Western Cape, no pit latrines.
There's
Always
none.
leading from the front.
But perhaps, David, so you have no pit latrines, but I think perhaps one of the things I think for me that has been a big success story for the province, for you, is the Rapid School program. You were able to even get additional funding from Treasury because of the success of that program. And I think perhaps, considering that the province gets a lot of in the influx of learners, you've been able to be responsive to that.
Look, the Rapid School Build program, I mean, has been a huge a huge success. I mean, we are now in a position to build more schools faster than any other province. I mean, this year we bring 9 schools to completion. We open up the first phase of 2 additional schools. We're rolling out brick and mortar classrooms at 12 additional schools, and we're going to add about 175 classrooms. To our schooling system this year for the 2026 intake. So, and as Siviwe said, we have, through the success of the program, we've managed to raise additional funding through the budget facility for infrastructure, and we've managed to raise about 2.5 billion rand over 3 years, which again is going to go a long way to help us or to support us deal with the very significant admissions pressure in the Western Cape.
Yeah. I mean, how long does it take usually to build a school in the Western Cape?
Well, it normally takes about 4.7 years to build a school, believe it or not. But I mean, we have demonstrated that we can build, for example, junior high schools and they're brick and mortar schools in under 70 days.
Yeah.
What?
In under 70 days.
Under 70 days, 4.7 years to under 70 days?
Correct. And I mean, what you require obviously is huge commitment from your contractors. I mean, our contractors are working 7 days a week, and they are working right through, for example, the builders' holidays. I was on site at one of our new schools last week, and I mean, the contractors only took off Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and Boxing Day, and they were on site for the duration. So I now start to receive kind of the complaints from residents because our contractors, for example, are building through the night, and they are disturbed. But I mean, we really are very proud of the program.
Yeah, one of the things is when we look at the overcrowding problem and the placement and admissions issues, especially in the bigger provinces, one of the things you always come back to is there's simply not enough schools that can cover the population. So first, it's really great that you are able to build schools in such a rapid way, and the budget was approved this past Tuesday. So thankfully, there'll be more injection of cash for the Western Cape to continue building schools. But also the maintenance of schools is a big thing. I did oversight in Mfuleni in Gauteng, and the roofs are falling. The classrooms are a complete mess. The windows are broken. How do you ensure that your schools in the Western Cape are getting proper maintenance?
Well, there's always, if you like, one's got to make a trade-off between building new schools, replacing schools. One's got to make a trade-off. We are allocating disproportionate resources, obviously, to build new schools. We are, to be frank, not replacing schools at a fast enough rate. And what every province needs to do is to get themselves into a position where we are able to consistently build new schools and replace schools and do that consistently over time. So there's still more work to do. But ultimately, one's got to, there is a budget line, one's got to make a trade-off, and we are investing more money now in new schools. So we will, on our current projections, if the budget holds, we aim to build about 29 schools over 3 years.
Jeez, 29 schools.
3 years.
Wow, that is insane.
And on our current projection, about 3 of those schools will be replacement schools. If I was able to mobilize more resources, I would certainly allocate additional resources to replacing schools at a faster rate.
Well, I wanted to just quickly say before we have a little bit of fun.
Yes.
While all of us really have been so proud of the class of 2025, I think Siviwe and David, we've also seen the other side of not passing. And we've been seeing the reports of suicides, young people who did not make it, who did not pass their matric. And it's really quite sad. And I think for many years, we've seen this trend of people not passing and feeling like it's the end of the road. Siv?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is that this is just but the beginning of your life.
Absolutely.
This is but the beginning of your life. It is not the end of the world. In fact, there are multiple ways of doing this. You can go into the second chance program, matric program. You can rewrite certain
Which is what?
subjects.
Just to explain.
So essentially, it's a program that allows learners who weren't successful in matric to essentially write the subjects that they didn't pass, so that they may be able to obtain their matric. So some people would want to be in a school, to go back to school, so that they can be supported throughout because the second chance matric program is mostly independent. So you would go and just do the subjects that you didn't pass. But some people would want to go back to school and do the full year again. And I just want to say, if I think back to being 18 and 19, a year goes by so quickly.
It does.
This is not the end of the world. And you know what? Some of our learners who've been progressed have come out, or some of our learners who have not been successful in previous grades have come up with distinctions.
Amazing.
So it is absolutely possible. And I want to say that, again, this is just but the beginning of your life. It's a little setback, and you can literally get back on track and live the rest of your life.
Absolutely. I think if there are any learners at home who are feeling disappointed with their results, absolutely. This is not the end of the road. There are options. Scripts can be checked. Scripts can be remarked. And of course, you always have the opportunity to rewrite the exam. So there are options. And I hope that learners choose to use those options. Also, of course, there could be learners who are at home feeling that they are not coping. And I'd really, to those learners, I would encourage them, reach out. Reach out perhaps to a former teacher. Reach out to your parents. Reach out to a confidant. And certainly in our province, if you're feeling like you're not coping, please just call our Safe Schools hotline on 0800 454647. We have professional counsellors who stand ready to support you and assist you to cope and help you to look at what options might be available. But we stand ready to assist and to support. It is definitely not the end of the road.
Absolutely.
I just want to also say, this topic really touches me a lot. I want to support and agree, but I also want to say, if you expected 5 distinctions and you got 3, if you didn't pass and you were unsuccessful, please understand, you still have so much more in this life. Do not
Absolutely.
give up.
For
Do not
sure.
feel
Listen,
like it's
man.
the end of the road. Please listen. You have your life ahead of you. Don't let the disappointment drag you down.
No,
Do not. Please,
absolutely.
wherever you are, I hope you hear this. Do not choose to end your life. It's only the beginning.
If I look back to when I was 18 and the life that I've lived since then, like the best is yet to come.
Yes,
man.
please,
The best
guys,
is yet to
please
come.
understand
The best
this.
is yet to come. Yes, I did go to Rhodes, so there was a lot of fun there. But the best is yet to come. So, so really, I want to agree with you that even if it's a slight disappointment, let's not to be too hard on ourselves. Be kind on yourself, and just understand there's so much more to live for. There's still so much. There's still varsity, or whether you choose varsity, the world of work, wherever you go, there's still so much more, and the best is yet to come.
And I'd like to
True,
summarize
true,
it like this. I watched a clip which was so interesting, where someone is meeting their idol and they say, "I can't wait. I want to be somebody one day." And the person says, "You already are somebody.
Yeah.
You already are somebody."
And we wouldn't be where we are without the teachers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want us to spend a little bit of time speaking about teachers and principals and student governing bodies, SG school governing bodies, SGBs, because I think about my life, like you say, when I matriculated long ago, when I was 17 years old.
Tell us how long
And
ago.
I'll tell you, 2007. And I don't know. I don't have any concerns with it because, like Siviwe said, you live your life and
Yes.
the best is yet to come. And I always think about I wouldn't be where I am today without the incredible teachers at Sir John. Shout out Sir John.
Shout out Sir John.
Adamson High in Joburg South and Winchester Ridge Primary School. And it's because of these teachers who supported me. Mrs.
Everybody's got a
Lakay.
teacher
Yeah,
that's
Mrs.
made a difference.
Lakay.
Stood out,
You always remember them and the support and the confidence that they give you that you got this, you can do it is incredible. So shout out to all of the teachers.
Shout out to all the
student teachers, the education assistants. You guys are doing God's work and we thank you for that. So
And there's 460,000 of these teachers who wake up every day, sometimes in unsafe neighborhoods. They risk their lives to go to school, to teach. And I think teaching is a vocation, man. I think being able to mold somebody's life and somebody's perspective and to teach is such an incredible job. And I just want to say to the teachers in South Africa, thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
building our country's future. It literally is because of you. And also, again, the principals. I'm sure David can attest to this, that I find that two things make a successful school whenever I go and visit schools. One, if there's a very strong principal. Number two, if there's very strong parent involvement.
Correct.
So I just want to say to the parents, please be involved in your child's life at school, because when parents are involved and they partner with school leadership, magic happens in a school. Those two things. When parents, because if you're part of the SGB, you are able to, there's a lot of powers that
Yes, they do.
SGBs have. And so be part of your child's schooling career so that you can be able to mold the kind of school your child goes to.
I often think that people forget that teachers go above and beyond what they do in the classroom. I was up at a school a couple of weeks ago having a chat about a particular learner. And this learner who was in primary school, his father had passed away. His mother had lost the house, and the family were in huge distress. And that teacher actually took the learner and his sister into her own home.
Oh my God.
For a couple of months in order to ensure that he completed his exams and had a much more stable environment. And I think all credit to our teachers who go above
That's incredible.
and beyond what they are required to do in the classroom. And it is, as you say, a calling, and they do God's work.
They really do.
And
Big ups.
that's why in the National Teaching Awards, I've included a special category for both a learner and a teacher that has gone far beyond the call of duty. I know that in 2025, a Western Cape teacher won that award.
Yes.
It was a teacher that with teachers in a very dangerous area of Cape Town, and she literally goes and fetches some of these learners at home because she wants to make sure that they are not caught in crossfires of gang wars. I mean, it's incredible. The year before, a child had, unfortunately, she's since passed away, but this child had fallen ill. She had cancer, she had leukemia, and she would bring this kid homework at the hospital.
Wow.
So like we have modern day heroes, guys. Not
Yes,
all
we do.
heroes wear capes.
Exactly.
Some of them are just they have a chalk and a duster, or hopefully a whiteboard.
And a pen and a pencil.
Yes,
There we
and a
go.
book.
Hey?
Well, we're going to have a bit of fun
Yes,
now.
let's do it.
And
Let's do it.
we're going to, of course, stick to the theme.
Of course.
So maybe
God.
let me just throw the first question
very stressed.
around. So who was your favorite teacher and why?
Mrs. Lekay, easy.
Let's start with you, Nancy.
Super
And why?
easy. Mrs. Lekay in primary school, right? I remember we
Shout out, Mrs.
Shout out,
Lekay.
Mrs. Lekay.
I will.
We had just, it was just after the end of apartheid, and we were sort of, people were starting to move into different areas, and we were some of the first cohort of people of color in these schools. And Mrs. Lekay was like, took me under her wing, and she was like, "You got this. I believe in you." And from that day, I believed in myself. And I get a little bit emotional because sometimes it's not easy coming from a single parent household to have that support at a school. And I'll never forget it. Never ever.
Shout out, Mrs. Lekay.
Never
So
ever.
for me, it was Mrs. Pio.
Shout out.
Shout out to you, Mrs. Pio, wherever you are, and Mrs. Kennedy. The reason why these two people stand out is Mrs. Pio taught me something about commitment and resilience. So she was my English teacher, and she was also my hockey coach.
Okay.
So and she would often say that success does not come from one sort of achievement. It comes from consistency and showing up. And I struggled. I really wanted to make first team hockey, but man, it just wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. And she would consistently use like the analogies like on the hockey in class, and to say, listen, you will get to where you need to go and places where you need to go, but you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
You have to consistently show up. And she told me something which was a valuable life lesson that I now never forget.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget her. Miss Kennedy follows me on Facebook. She comments on everything that I do.
love that.
She was my history teacher. So shout out, Mrs. Kennedy.
Shout out, Mrs. Kennedy.
I think for me, it's probably Mr. Lunnon.
Okay, Mr. Lunnon.
And to put this in context, this year I attend my 40th
No
school
way.
reunion.
Wow. 40 years.
40th.
Listen, my sister.
Almost there.
Our 20th is coming up.
Almost there.
But Mr. Lunnon taught something that nobody had really ever heard of when he arrived. He taught computers, which was very mystical. He was a maths teacher, and he was a huge influence, I must say. So shout out to Mr. Lunnon.
Is he
Shout out.
still alive?
Yes, he is, but he's not well.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
All the best, Mr.
All the best. And Leolo, you?
Mine would be Mrs. Taylor.
Hello, Mrs. Taylor.
Yeah, my grade 7 maths teacher.
Love
Can you
it.
believe it, maths teacher? Yeah.
Love it.
She was such an incredible, very strict.
Yeah.
And the ministers, but she used to. Don't tell the minister. But she was my favorite teacher because, I hated maths. But when
So
she
did I.
taught me maths in grade 7 is when I started to like maths.
Okay.
Came alive.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, Mrs. Taylor. She
Shout
was
out.
very old. I don't know if she's still around, but shout out to you.
Yeah.
Shout
Wonderful.
out.
You see,
Awesome.
guys, teachers change lives. Teachers absolutely change lives. I still have also another teacher of mine, Mrs. Finley, who also still is teaching. She also is always like, I'm so proud of you.
I love
And I'm
that.
ashamed. But I mean, so I went back for my school's 135th birthday last year. this 2025, and just watching the girls, man, and just thinking about when I used to walk up and down those halls, and yeah, it brought so many memories. And of course, they happened to do this celebration on Rose and Slater Field, where I played my heart out to make first team hockey, and I didn't make it.
There's always that story that stays.
Yeah, no, listen, I by the time I got to high school, I was over sports, but I still played hockey. And I really loved hockey, so I understand your pain.
Yeah.
Even though I did make first team.
Yeah, okay.
Next question.
Next question.
Okay, next question, David. What was your favorite subject at school?
I loved history.
Okay.
I absolutely love history, and to put that in context, one of my very clear memories of high school, we did sort of psychometric tests, where our school counselors were helping us to sort of think about what choices we might make in life, what our future careers might be. And I remember being called in, and the school counselor, if I recall correctly, his name was Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson said, David, how do you feel about engineering? And I said, well, I'm not really keen on engineering. He said, thank God.
Sit you up.
So I loved history at school. I think it was the first time, that we could start to really think analytically. So that was my favorite subject, and I still love reading sort of history books, biography, and I've always been passionate about history. I think most people think that, it would probably have been maths or physical science, but in fact, I'm an historian at heart.
Breaking news, David's favorite subject was history. Elisa?
Listen, I was not good at maths. Okay. I just want to put that out there. I always knew I'd be a humanities child. So my favorite subject was definitely history as well.
Okay.
History squared.
I remember Mrs. Fisser was the maths teacher. She must have been so happy when she was like, oh, this child has left. Because also I got a distinction in so it was history.
Incredible.
And also it was isiXhosa. Mrs. Dime, I know she's recently passed on, but she was also such an influential figure for me because I really, really wanted to be fluent in my language because there was almost this kind of trade-off if you went to what they used to call back then a former Model C school, that because you wanted to speak English and speak it well, that you would almost abandon your own language. And my mom was very clear about wanting me to be fluent in isiXhosa and as much as I was fluent in English. So Mrs. Dime played a massive role for me in making sure that I can still write isiXhosa, I can still speak it well. And so big ups to you, Ma.
Oh, big ups.
Big ups.
Well, I just want to know, before I throw it back to Nazli, and perhaps this is something that you guys have been doing this year as the year starts, with the welcoming of the new bundles of joy in our schools.
I love those Facebook posts. Let me just say, I love it because I love to see the excitement on the children's faces, but also the excitement of the parents.
I mean, it's such an important moment, significant moment, right? It's really so
very
beautiful.
cute.
And I think we all love those visuals in the morning. You sit up, you want to go to work, but they look so nice. Everybody's so happy. Some are crying.
Hey, man.
But I think you guys have had the very, very front seat to this, different emotions and different feelings. But I just wanted to know from both of you, and perhaps we can start with you, David. In general, what is your message to now the bundles of joys coming in, and just some reflection? I mean, it's the parents are very excited. It's very nice, and I'm sure you've been around the Western Cape to a few schools when schools opened on Wednesday, and just a message that you have, and then we give it over to Siviwe.
Well, I, celebrated the first day of school at Tamboeskloof Primary School, which is a real jewel in our crown, and it was wonderful. I joined Premier Alan Wendy and myself, welcomed the new grade R's to the school, and they were absolutely cute. The kids were well prepared and couldn't wait to get to school, and you could see the parents sort of disappearing with tears.
I can imagine.
But my message to them was, at least, in your grade R year, listen to your teacher, but have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, last year I was in the Eastern Cape and I welcomed some of the great R's there. There was a gentleman who was very, very upset. A shame he wasn't having a good time. And I was in the Northwest this year. We had a runner. There was one who tried to escape.
A runner.
I was like, oh, good Lord, there's still 13 more years. But it's still a 13-year-long journey, my brother.
Still a long journey.
Anyway, but obviously some of the babies are quite a little bit anxious, but a lot of them, some of them are very preppy because I think some schools also start the grade R's a day earlier, just so that they're not overwhelmed on the day of. And then they're so small and their bags are so big, and then they're just and it makes you very broody. So I do want to say to the parents, be involved, read to your kids in whatever language, particularly in their home languages. It's very, very important. We're not going to win this literacy and numeracy war without you. We are in partnership with you as parents. So read to your little ones. Be involved in their schoolwork. Really observe, because teachers only have them for so long, and ultimately they have to go home. And so be interested in your child's schooling career. It's so, so, so important. And as David said, I mean, they must have fun. It's I'm sure you've met some of your best friends in school.
Yes.
My absolute best friend, I met her in school. So it's about to be the best time of your life. Have fun, but also to the parents, be involved. It's very, very important.
Yeah, and David, to the matriculants, the class of 2026, what is your message to them?
Well, I think we need to probably listen to Abigail Koch, the world's the country's top learner. And I mean, she said at the awards ceremony, avoid procrastination and work hard, but most importantly, work consistently, and
Noted.
you will succeed.
Noted.
Yeah.
Stop procrastination, work hard, and work consistently. Thank you, Abigail, for that advice, because I need it.
I feel like we all need it.
I'm taking notes.
I feel like we all need it. For me, no pressure. To a class of 2026. But really, I just think, as Abigail says, consistency wins the day. Because if you literally leave it up to the last moment, then you're going to have a harder time. But also, another part I think that perhaps I want to add is have a bit of balance. Do also, have fun with your friends. This is, don't essentially make this year about just cramming so that you can just get to the end. Have fun. This is the last year of your schooling year, but really put your back into it, because what you do and how you achieve in this year determines the trajectory of where you go next. So this is really, really important. It's the last mile. Really, really, really put your best foot forward.
Leolo, my advice to the grade R's and the grade 1s, make sure your juice bottles are closed. Okay? Because I have trauma from my juice bottle spreading all over my bag.
Yes.
And then having that smell.
Yes. Of oros. Oros for days.
So make sure it's closed properly. So I want to find out, 2026, 2026, it's a new year. David and Siviwe, what are your goals and your priorities for this year?
Well, certainly in the Western Cape, we're probably going to have two big priorities. The first is a significant investment in foundation phase literacy and numeracy, including, for the first time, we'll be doing benchmarking tests in grade 1. We are starting to set the parameters for literacy benchmarks for every term, grade 1 to 3, in the Western Cape, drawing on what we've learned, as I've talked about from other countries. So a big focus on improving foundation phase literacy and numeracy in grades 1, 2, and 3. And then, another very big focus on improving not just the quality of our mathematics and physical science pass rates and results, but also improving our level of participation in maths and physical science in the FET phase, grade 10, 11, and 12. I mean, we will be extending the Back on Track program into about 144 high schools where we will be focused on improving maths and physical science, both improving the quality of passes, making sure or trying to support learners to achieve more than 60% in maths and physical science, and also to support learners, obviously, participate and pass maths and physical science.
I like those priorities. Very important. Very important. So by the time kids get to Matric, they're not as completely stressed out or not sure what's happening because you've already set them up for success.
Correct.
So important.
And the building of more schools.
And the building of more schools.
Yes.
Goodness.
Yeah. So for me, quite similar to David, expanding early child development across the country. I don't want to say that audacious number that I have in my mind, but we really want to continue with our mass registration. We want to support practitioners so that they are, they are qualified to do this kind of work. We've already, I've already secured about 66 million to upgrade 7,000 grade R practitioners so that they are fully fledged teachers.
That's amazing.
Remember now that grade R is compulsory, that grade R has to have fully fledged qualified teachers. So we've gotten to an arrangement with UNISA. So we've started with 7,000. I want to really get, hopefully the Minister of Finance can give us some additional funding so that we can send that to the provinces so that we can start with making sure that the practitioners are upgraded to fully fledged teachers. Then of course, trying to support the provinces with the implementation of grade R, making sure that we've got extra space, making sure that the curriculum is standardized across the board. So foundation phase from ECD to grade 1 and 3. I really hope by the time we take another PROS test, we can really see a difference in how reading for meaning is happening. So the PROS test is an international benchmarking test that South Africa we take, and that's where the statistics around 8 out of 10 children who can't read for meaning comes from. So if we are able to lower that number, and if we're able to increase the numbers of children who are cognitively developed by the age of 5, that for me would be the great marker of success. And then of course, like David, I really want to delve deep into the drop in maths and science between grade 10, 11, and 12, and where we are losing our learners to. But then, of course, I also want to focus quite a bit on school safety. School safety became a big problem last year. Bullying has been a big issue. So for me, I really want us to be quite intolerant of the kind of bullying we're seeing, particularly cyberbullying and the like. And then I think the last thing is we've got to do much better when it comes to inclusive education. Learners with special needs or learners living with disability need us to really pull up our socks. And white paper 6 on this matter is going to be released and completed this year. Now we've got to move with pace because those children deserve as much of an opportunity as anyone else. Inclusion is very important.
Very important.
So important.
I love how you say the audacious number because we have to be audacious if we want to bring change. We cannot sit with the status quo and say this is how it's done. It's okay. It's not okay. We have to keep it moving and we have to dream big. So achieve big things.
And leave the averaging to the average. We are trying to take this up. That's what we're trying to do.
Try to level up. We could speak about education for hours. I mean, we haven't touched on everything. There's so much more. So I'm hoping that this is an invitation for you guys to come back again. Siviwe for the 3rd time and David for the 2nd time, so we can get into a little bit more of the intricacies of education because it's a huge sector. It covers a lot of people. adult children, learners, teachers, principals, parents. It's a whole lot. And we'd really, I think it's important if we continue the conversation. But I just want to end it off by asking you, David, if you could give your younger self in school some advice, what would it be?
I think it would probably be not to work harder, but to work consistently. I think that would probably be the advice that I would give to my younger self.
To little David,
Exactly.
young David, and young Siviwe.
I would say, please stop crashing out. You are literally going to be fine. You are literally going to be so fine.
Exactly.
But also just to say, the bullies, don't worry about them. They will eat dust later in life.
There we go.
So I would say I must be a lot less intense, relax more, work hard, but I don't need to white knuckle my way through school because I was that child. So yeah, and that I'm just relax and have fun. Have fun.
It's going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be
okay.
more than okay. So yeah.
And sometimes we just need to hear that, right?
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's a wrap for our first episode of season 2 launching, and we are so happy. Thank you so much, David, the MEC for Education in the Western Cape, and Minister Siviwe Gwarube, Minister of Basic Education, gracing us with your presence here at the DA podcast. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe, do all of those things, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Shap and away.
The DA